Well, hello everyone. I hope the time change is treating you well. I don't really know what it is with the camera. It's been glitching out. You might have noticed in the last couple of ones, and right now it's at over 30% CPU, which is a lot larger than it was in the live stream, which makes no sense to me. So I don't know what's going on here. Hopefully it'll hold out, and hopefully I won't need a new one. But what I want to look at is just one of the anti-AI lawsuits that I've been covering. And this is the one against Stability AI that does Stable Diffusion, DeviantArt, Midjourney, and Runway. And the thing of it is, these people, the people who are suing them, do not learn. So, if you've been following me, you know how these cases have been going. Probably the most mature of them is Cadre v. Meta, where all except one has been dropped. All of their claims about how, every time you run the model, it's doing infringing things. It's got like little clips of our books and everything that it's putting together. Of course, that's not how AI works. They've lost all of those already. They've been dropped. The only one that's left is the one that Meta did not move to dismiss because they won it litigated. And that is the idea that they got their training corpus without the permission of all the authors. They just downloaded it from the internet. Basically, they pirated it. And that means that's a copyright infringement. Well, according to different precedents, like you have Google Books, you have HathiTrust, you have a couple of others, if it's just something like where it's for archival purposes, or you want to make a searchable index, or you want to run like analyses on the language, like how often certain words have been used over periods of time and things like that, those are not actually infringing uses. And therefore, it's not piracy. It's only piracy if you then go on to infringe with it, if you actually read the books yourself, or if you go on to redistribute them or whatever. That's the question. Because if, as they claim, the AI training is just derivative, and so it just makes derivative works, then that will be considered piracy of ebooks, or in this case, of images and artwork. However, if AI training is transformative rather than derivative, then that means it's a completely new expression divorced from the original, and that means that it's not a copyright violation. And I've gone over how this works before, and basically, if AI training isn't transformative, then what the hell is? I don't know how you could possibly be more transformative than that. So that is the open question. But here we have these plaintiffs suing Stability and the others. They haven't learned from any of that. And it's really embarrassing now because, as you can see on this front page here, it's the second amended complaint. So they issued a complaint and they went back and like, this doesn't make sense. They don't understand how AI works. All this is wrong. They come back with an amended complaint and same thing, and they still don't understand. And what are these people thinking? These people don't know what they're talking about. And so now we've got the second amended complaint, and I'm not going to go through all 88 pages of this. It's really just 4 pages we have to look at. So we'll start on page 1, which is page 4 of the PDF file. It's weird because the numbers are different, but if you're following along in the PDF, I'll link to it below. Here we've got basically where their claims are. That AI image products are trained on vast numbers of copyrighted images without consent, credit, or compensation, and violate the rights of millions of artists. And what we're going to see is, even after what's happened in the other cases, and even after changing this twice, they still can't get it right. And they're even going so far as to saying artificial intelligence is a misnomer. So the way artificial intelligence works is, it's a neural network. It's mimicking like the neurons in your brain. It doesn't mimic the overall structure of the brain, so it's not like simulating human intelligence, but it is being an artificial intelligence where you can give it one or more inputs and it goes through its neural network to determine what the output should be. But that's not what they say. They say the AI products at issue in this complaint are all built around the same asset: human intelligence and creative expression in the form of billions of artworks copied from the internet. An AI image product simply divorces these artworks from the artists and attaches a new price tag. even though Stable Diffusion is open source and you can download all sorts of models for free. The profits from the misappropriation of these works can then flow directly into defendants' pockets. But the artists who provided the intelligence and creativity, including plaintiffs, were not asked for their consent. They were not given any credit, and they have not received 1 cent in compensation. So this is still that same idea. Every time you make an output with an artificial intelligence, it's a derivative work of their intellectual property. And again, not how it works. And I mean, I guess they did try. This language is kind of improved from what it was, but they say, models are not programmed directly in the manner of traditional software, but rather trained. Training a model first requires amassing a huge corpus of data called a dataset. The models at issue in this complaint were trained on datasets containing billions of images paired with descriptive captions, meaning that protected expression from every training image enters the model. No, it doesn't. None of the training data whatsoever goes into the model in any way. What the model does is try to simulate making something like the training data. Just like if you're learning how to be an artist and they give you a project like, okay, try to do this, try to paint this, and then you try to paint it. And you see how close you become. And then as you learn more and more about painting and how to be an artist, you get better and better at doing that. As it copies and ingests billions of training images. Ingests. That means it takes it in. It ingests the images into its model. No, it doesn't. That is not at all how it works. It's not even close to how it works. The model progressively develops the ability to generate outputs that mimic the protected expression copied from the dataset. No. I've gone over this before. If it makes an eye, it's not mimicking expression copied from the dataset because it doesn't have the copies. It's not mimicking anything because it doesn't have anything that it can mimic. It is creating a new eye from scratch based on what it has learned that eyes look like from the dataset. That's what's going on. And that's what they keep missing here. The outputs of a model are derived entirely and exclusively from what it has extracted from the dataset, but it hasn't extracted anything. The way you start off with AI training is a bunch of random numbers. And these random numbers are a prospective model. And so then you see how well it can work on your training corpus and mimic them, which it's not going to do well at all because it's just random. You're going to get crap. But then as the prospective models go on, as it learns, in this case, it uses a diffusion model. I won't get into how that works again. But it modifies the underlying model so it gets a little better at it. And then it takes the ones that work the best, makes copies of those, makes some random changes to those, and then does it some more. And so it's really the only thing that's in the model is a bunch of random numbers that were then modified by other random numbers. But it was done so in kind of like a pseudo-Darwinian process to try to move more and more towards a model that's a neural network that's actually capable of creating these. So it's not entirely and exclusively based on what it's extracted from the dataset because nothing is extracted. It's what it's learned. If you try and draw an eye from memory, you are doing exactly what the AI is. And which is weird because humans use references all the time. Look on the tutorials. Look on NER tutorial. They'll tell you look at Pinterest or look at ArtStation or places like that. Look at that for inspiration. Or if you want to know like a shape of a nose should be or something like that, get reference images from there and refer to those when you're, and no one has a problem with this. No one has ever had a problem with this. They can't, because otherwise art would be impossible. If every single artist had to learn to draw from scratch and wasn't able to build on what artists had learned before them, then there would be no art at all. And that is absolutely ridiculous. So a little further down here in page 2, they get to kind of the basis of it. To train multiple versions of Stable Diffusion, Runway and Stability have each downloaded copies of billions of copyrighted images without permission, including those belonging to plaintiffs. But again, as in the HathiTrust case, as in the Google Books case, that itself is only illegal if it's used for an infringing purpose. And they say the same thing a little further down. Midjourney has downloaded copies of billions of copyright images without permission to train its models, including those belonging to plaintiffs. It has also copied the Stable Diffusion model and deployed it commercially as part of its AI image product. It sells subscription access to its AI image product. DeviantArt has copied Stable Diffusion 1.4 and deployed it commercially as part of a subscription-based AI image product. This model was also trained on billions of training images, many of which were harvested from the artist portfolios hosted on DeviantArt's own website, including certain plaintiffs. So here's the nub of it. Here's where they just have not learned. They say what they're really selling is copyright infringement as a service. The scale of this misappropriation is staggering and unprecedented, with violations of law happening at every phase. Okay, so they're not just saying it was piracy for them to download it. This is at every phase. The gathering and copying of the dataset, the training and deployment of the model, and the output images. All the way to the output, just deploying the model, you downloading the model on your computer, and the output images themselves. All of that, they're saying, is copyright violation. There's going to come a point where the courts are tired of this. I mean, right now I think there are enough different ones in different enough places that they haven't really had a chance to, because there are different judges that are doing this. I know Vincent Chabria, though, over at the Meta case, he's had enough of it. He's over it. But yeah, as they keep doing this, and as they keep doing other things like keep stonewalling on discovery and things like that, they're really not doing themselves any favors. They're just trying to really oversell this, just so they can grab as much money as they can and as much control as they can. Even to what the artists themselves are doing. Trying to restrict what artists can do. If you are an artist, this case is a threat to you, because they want to restrict what you can do. Listen to this here on number 8, page 3. Worst of all, the defendants hold out their AI image products as being able to create substantially similar substitutes for the very works they were trained on, either specific training images or images that imitate the trade dress of particular artists. So you can't even make something in the style of another artist anymore. That's what they're trying to do. And if they can do this here with AI, they can do it just with you. Oh, I want, like the example they're using is Kelly McKernan, one of the plaintiffs. Oh, I like her style. I'm going to do something in her style. And then she's going to be able to go, no, you stole it from me. You stole it. Mine, 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 mine. Which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it would be like saying only Georges Braque could make a Cubist painting. And we got to stop this Picasso guy from stealing Braque. Then, of course, Cézanne might come forward and say, no, Braque's stealing it from me. Braque steals it from Cézanne. This is ridiculous. Artists copying and imitating the style of others is how art has progressed throughout the centuries. And I mean, look at how artists like, Van Gogh and Titian and Goya and people like that were just making almost outright copies of earlier works. They would make that illegal. If this goes through, because this isn't just about AI. They are saying right here that if you imitate the trade dress of particular artists, that's an infringement. That's what they're trying to establish. And if they are successful in it, it will ruin art forever, or at least until we come to our senses and tell people like this, no! Stop being a fucking baby! He copied me! Like a little fucking 3-year-old. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with Kelly McKernan here at the bottom of the page. Kelly McKernan was astonished to find that the top search result for their name is now an AI-generated image made with Midjourney, prompted with Mix McKernan's name. However you're supposed to pronounce that. Without intervention, this is the grim future that awaits many other artists. Yeah, because if they'd had search engines back in the day, you would have searched for Brock, you would have come up with Picasso's as well. Because Picasso was like, look, I'm doing this like Brock. And, and Duchamp and Magritte and all those others. Monet and Manet taking from each other all the time. It's how art is done, people. And if you make your own art and you put it in McKernan style and you credit Mix McKernan, I was inspired by Mix McKernan to make this art. And if that becomes popular, the top internet search result. Copy from me, it's more popular. Babies, I'm telling you. And they coming up, I'm almost done here. Though defendants like to describe their AI image products in lofty terms, the reality is grubbier and nastier. AI image products are primarily valued as copyright laundering devices, promising customers the benefits of art without the costs of artists. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I'll show you a few of mine. I'll show you what some of mine look like. And here's my challenge. Who did I steal these works of art from? Where was it plagiarized from? Where was it copied from? What do any of these look like that I swiped it from? And I've made this challenge over and over and over again to a lot of people. And no one can tell. And the fact is, even if I gave you the prompt, which in and of itself is a bit of ignorance because there were various prompts I made along the way, not any one of which is responsible for the whole image. But even if I were to give you a prompt and the exact model and settings and the seed and everything else, you would still not regenerate that image because you would not have gone through all of the preliminary steps I did to get to that image and all of the things that I loaded in control modules and IP adapters to get to that point. And you also wouldn't have done the things I did after that. This is just one part in the workflow. This is not type stuff, get art. This is a tool. And if you want to know if something is a tool for an artist, I'll give you a very simple definition right now. A tool for an artist is anything that exists. If you can go to a junkyard, grab a urinal, stick it sideways on a pedestal, write R mutt on it and call it fountain, and that's a work of art. As long as you're transforming it with your own creativity, which you are when you make the prompts, and when you design the IP adapters, and when you do whatever in painting on it that you do, whatever it is you're doing to it. Any bit of creativity you put in makes it art. And the Supreme Court said that in a different case too. The case, I forget what it's called, the one about the phone books, when one phone book was accused of copyright infringement by another. They said the creativity requirement for copyright is low, but it does exist because there was no creativity behind the phone book. As long as there's just a little bit of creativity in there, then it's something that can be copyrighted. This thing is really glitching. Sorry about that. If anyone has any ideas, I'm all ears. Otherwise, God, I just bought this webcam. Like what, less than a year ago? Hopefully I won't have to replace it again. But yeah, that's what they want. They want to claim all of your creativity because you used a tool that they don't like. And they want to be able to grab all of the money and all of the credit for themselves when they do not deserve it. And even when you do give them credit, like this McKernan character, that's when they flip out about it. Because if that hadn't been in the prompt, if that hadn't been in the metadata that you could search on, would Mix McKernan had found it. I'm sorry, that's gotten ridiculous, but whatever. So even if you do decide to say, hey, I'm going to credit this artist that I'm inspired of, guess what? That's just going to make you a target. And hopefully this one will start to go the way the others do. And what we're going to see is we're going to see a bunch of these combined together as they get appealed into the various circuits. And I kind of doubt we'll see a circuit split on this because they all seem to be going the same way, that there is no infringement here. And since there's no infringement, then downloading the books and artwork and everything else that they're doing is not infringement because it's not used for an infringing purpose. But there might be a circuit split and that might send it up to the Supreme Court. Or they might just insist on taking it up to the Supreme Court anyway. If they do that and the Supreme Court accepts it, then we'll see what they have to say. But it really seems like there's only one way that's consistent with all of the precedents that we have. The ones I mentioned, I'm going to try to get links to all of these. And there's that other one about where you had the writers of A.B.'s Irish Rose suing the writers of the Coens and Kellys because they were kind of similar. Plot divided, a Jew marries a Gentile and their families start feuding. And it's just, it was just so vague and something you see in the real world and a kind of story that's been told thousands of times over. You know, Learned Hand had some good things to say in that decision. So I'll link to all of those. And hopefully that'll continue. Maybe there'll be some corrupt judges if they like. I think there's one in the Southern District of New York, and you know what those are like. So if that happens and there ends up being a circuit split, then maybe it will go to the Supreme Court. But I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll keep reporting back with what's going on. So thank you so very much for watching. Comments for the Comic God, shares for the Share Throne. Oh man, am I going to get sued by the Warhammer people for doing that? For the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. I say comments for the Comic God, shares for the Share Throne. Ooh, I'm stealing their IP. Yeah. So please, before that happens and they take me down forever, please hit like, subscribe, and the bell, and go to donate.bogosity.tv to keep me doing what I do. You can use PayPal, Venmo, or cryptocurrency to make a one-time donation, or become a regular supporter with Patreon and Subscribestar. Get these videos early and ad-free. Participate in the monthly AMAs and the live stream. I am going to do this month's AMA pretty much after I'm done here. I'm going to start working on that. So keep an eye on for that. Thank you so very much. Until next time, stay strong and be free.